Peace and blessings. This is Derric Rau Khu. And in this video, I want to address a concern that I have witnessed. That concern is that I've seen that every time a individual transitions, when somebody transitions, when somebody passes away, they are automatically promoted to ancestorship or ancestorhood. And that's not actually correct. All right. That's not correct. It's not, and it's not good. All right. This whole idea that just because a person transitions that they are an ancestor is not correct at all. This is an idea that basically, as far as I can tell, based upon my research, this is an idea that came from, here, people in the West. And it stems from the fact that, here in the West, people keep saying that when a person dies, they're an ancestor. When a person, go check your ancestry, ancestry.com, because these people have died and they're your ancestors. And somehow, somewhere along the lines, that has it's confused a lot of people. And it's made them believe that just because a person physically dies, that's what happens, that they're an ancestor. And yeah, like I said, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. I think also it kind of stems, this false idea that everyone is an ancestor just because they physically passed on. This also is kind of promoted from these, these psychic shows, these medium shows and everything. I noticed that every time when I watch these shows, I don't watch them, but when I catch a glimpse of them, these spirits that are sharing this guidance, these ideas or whatever, they're sharing their thoughts. The medium always tells, the medium always tells the recipient, hey, well, they said they're okay and everything's all right, and they just want to offer you a message of hope. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, really? That's all they want to offer? And part of the reason why people are so entertained from that is because it kind of goes back to, what is it, I believe it was the early 1900s or so, when they had the table rapping, the table rappings and stuff. It might have been, I think it's even further than that. I think it's like the late 1800s or so when all of that whole thing started, and we kicked off the spiritualist and spiritist movement. All right. And the spiritist movement, a lot of people, they just used it for entertainment. And that's what the whole medium that, again, I'm not knocking anybody who's into that, but I'm just saying that's what that whole, those medium shows, that's what it's about. In that same sense, in that same frequency, on that same line, it reminds me of when we used to go to church. People get struck by the Holy Ghost and they would speak in tongues. All right. Clearly, they're in possession of a spirit. All right. But after they got finished speaking in tongue, after the music stopped playing, the Holy Ghost has left them. They they revert right back to the same old heathenistic ways that they were, that they had before they even got the spirit, before they even caught the spirit. It's the same line. It's the same, that same line of entertainment. It's the same exact thing. And that's how I see that. All right. And it took me a while to get to this point. It took me a while to get to this understanding and realize, oh, those are low spirits. Those are low spirits that they're dealing with. Those are low spirits. That's the reason why when a person gets the Holy Ghost and they dance around, speak in tongues and everything, and then after the Holy Ghost leaves, they revert right back to their old ways because the spirit didn't have anything to offer them. It's like I said, it's the same entertainment line where you see these, spirit comes back and they just want to give this message of hope. They just want to, share with people, oh, well, yeah, I'm okay over on the other side, but that's it. It's the same form of entertainment. It's the same idea. It's almost the same as those individuals who are going and, trying to hunt down ghosts. Almost. Just a little bit, the whole ghost hunting thing is a little bit lower. Okay. But I mean, those are enlightened ancestors. We don't want to deal with just a spirit. All right. We want to deal with enlightened ancestors because those are the individuals that we miss. The one book that kind of gave me a better understanding of this, that kind of helped me to understand this, I believe it's called Death and Invisible Powers by Simon Baki. Okay, I'm not sure if that's the actual name of the book, but the author's name is Simon Baki. And he's a Congo, he's from the Congo. And the thing I liked about the book was basically he talks about how even though we're Christian, even though the people, Congo people are Christian, these are the beliefs. We still have these same beliefs, these same ancestral beliefs, in which he talks about the Basembi spirits. He talks about the Bakulu spirits, our ancestral spirits, and he talks about the Bankunyo, okay, which are those negative, low spirits. And I remember when he talks about the Bakunyo, for instance, remember when he talks about the Bakunyo and everything, I remember him talking about the fact that he's like, these spirits, when these individuals were alive, they were adulterers, they were, thieves, some of them were murderers. They were basically people who was up to no good. And because they were up to no good, nobody in life wanted to deal with them. So when they transition, no one in life wants to deal with them, even in death, because of the energy they brought to the entire situation, to the entire, environment and everything. And we know we got people like that. So why would, if an individual is living that way, how do you automatically jump them to an ancestor? How do they automatically become an ancestor if that's the way they were living? It's not going to happen. That's not traditional. Just doesn't work that way. All right. And that's the reason why, and I always tell people this. I always, this is one story, the one thing that has basically been my anchor when it comes to when I'm questioning, our ancestors this and are they that? And the one situation that I'm always reminded of, that's my anchor, that anchors me back to this, is that I've told you all this before. It was from looking at my late grandmother's obituary, in which I saw the sunrise, the sunset, that reminded me of the King of the Congo. All right. And after I went ahead and I saw the King of the Congo from just looking at my grandmother's obituary, after seeing that, that automatically tied me into the Ma'ank. All right. Now, I say that because I'm showing my grandmother, for the most part, she served as a gateway ancestral spirit. I could sense when I was looking at her obituary, I could sense that, oh, okay. She was like, hey, I was a Christian in life. I can help you get here, but that's as far as I can go because I don't know nothing about it. And it was after that, I can sense those Congo ancestors came up and was like, yeah, okay, here we go. We're going to show you this. We're going to show you this. And we're going to show you this. And then the Congo ancestors stopped and was like, okay, now we're going to hand you off to these kemetic ancestors. And it was the kemetic ancestors that went ahead and showed me the Ma'ank. Okay? Now, I'm not making this up. I'm just saying this, I could sense that. I could see it. And that's what gave me the understanding especially after reading about, like I said, reading in the book, Simon Baki's book, after reading about that and understanding was like, oh, okay, I get it. And that's what helped me to understand. It made me realize an ancestor, a true enlightened ancestor, is an ancestor in life before they transition. They're an ancestor in life. And when they transition, they become an ancestor in death. They got to, and that's the whole thing that a lot of people, like I say, I think a lot of people are missing. You don't just automatically become an ancestor just because, just because you transition. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. And the thing that, part of the reason why there's so much misunderstanding and confusion about this is because here in the West, people are, Western culture is afraid of death. The only reason why so many people, in my opinion, have embraced this whole thing regarding honoring the ancestors is because it has given them a warm and cozy feeling that, death is okay right now. Death is a part of life. People die. That's the only reason why I think people have embraced the whole ancestor veneration thing. They haven't embraced the concept, because it's not part of their culture. It's not part of Western culture. See, in our culture, in our ancestral culture, we know that death is a part of the cycle of life. We know that. Even when our ancestors, when our elders lost the theology behind our culture, even when they lost the theology behind our culture, when a child came back, Joe came back, they was already talking about the cycle of life, talking about how they reincarnated. So even though we kind of lost the theology of it, we still retained the belief structure and everything else. We just didn't have a way to validating it or verifying it because we lost that. But we never let go of the fact that we believed and we knew about this cycle of life. And that's the reason why ancestor veneration is so strong with us, even though we didn't practice it. Even though there was times, and for a long time we didn't practice it, but we knew that spirit is going to be is setting up in the West. We knew this. We have record of this. You can go back and look in ancient Kemet and you can see the history of it. And they was burying people in the West. This is a cultural thing. So you got to become an ancestor. You know, you have to, you're an ancestor in life, and then you transition and become an ancestor in death. There's no magical process. Death doesn't just make you wise. You don't just become a wise and strong and, you know, powerful individual just because you died. No, it's because you've lived that you become a wise and strong and powerful individual, which we call enlightened ancestors. All right? A coup or a coup or a goons. All right? So I just want to put that out there because, you know, like I said, I saw some people, they just automatically just elevating them there. And I'm like, okay, don't call them because you don't know what they was dealing with, you know. Enlightening, and not only that, the other thing about enlightened ancestors or ancestors is that most of the time you're not going to even know your ancestors. All right. I mean, most of our ancestors are true enlightened ancestors. They have transitioned 2-3 generations before we were even here, you know? So, like I said, I just want to put that out there. Just want to drop that out there. Again, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to drop me a line. Until next time, Hatchapu, peace.